We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to Devil's Advocate with Richie Bradshaw as we talk all things Sun Devils football and more. It's game day previews, it's recruiting, and it's all the news you need for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Again, I'm Richie Bradshaw. I will be your guide for all things Sun Devils. Thank you all so much for finding the show. Do me a favor, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and you will get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys for sticking around and enjoying the ride. ASU got a pretty nice win over Texas Tech, in case you missed it. Pretty awesome stuff, but a landmark win for Kenny Dillingham. A win over a top 10 opponent, a win at home to really put the statement out there that ASU is, in fact, a legit contender to repeat as Big 12 champs. They entered the season with the odds were just up and down all over the place. Like at one point they were like third favorites to win the Big 12, then they were tied for second. Like it's just been all over the place. There's been a lot of parity in the Big 12 and it's a beautiful thing. But it also feels as though Arizona State has been very overlooked as they entered the 2025 season. A lot of people were looking at Texas Tech as the champions, and they assembled a very expensive roster through the transfer portal, $28 million, something like that, and it turned into 6 straight wins to start the year and a number 7 overall ranking, and they were worth every bit of that when ASU took them on. That looked like one of the best teams in the Big 12, one of the better teams in the country. ASU was able to take them out in a good old-fashioned slugfest, and there was a lot of good, a lot of bad from the game. We'll be talking about that, of course. But as a whole, this was a really big game for Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils, as we talked about for this season, right? You are reminding everyone, hey, we're the reigning champs. The Big 12 still goes through us. You also establish that Mountain America Stadium is one of the best home field advantages in the country, something we need to start talking about because ASU has not lost a home game in a season and a half now. That's that's a pretty big deal. That's something that needs to be talked about a little bit more than it is right now. But a lot of good things. I absolutely love the way that the game was celebrated by Kenny Dillingham, that he opted to bow out of the post-game interview on the field and instead go over and celebrate with his players, with his team, with his staff and all that good stuff. I love it. Uh Kenny Dillingham, that was a pretty disgusting worm dance that you hit in the best way possible. I know he said it's AI. There's no way it's AI. We just Kenny, you gotta admit you've been to enough weddings at this point that you are star of the show when someone says, "Who can do the worm?" Kenny hops out there. It's great. But I loved it. I love the way that this team is just so about themselves compared to the outside noise and worrying about the way that people perceive them as potential contenders to win the Big 12 again because they didn't have that last year and then they end up putting together the season they did, right? So this year they have been focused on themselves, and Kenny Dillingham said after the Utah win that, like, hey, we had to really take a step back. We had to remind ourselves, or Utah game. I hope I didn't say Utah win. I can't remember. After the Utah game, the blowout loss, not win. Kenny Dillingham kind of took a step back and he was like, yeah, look, we're starting to get a little complacent, getting a little too comfortable. We need to go back to the have the most fun working harder than anyone else in the country kind of strategy. And that was very evident against Texas Tech. It was a lot similar to the team that we were used to seeing with Kenny Dillingham when they took the field. It was what we have become accustomed to from these Kenny Dillingham teams. Because even in 2023, when they won 3 games, that was still a team that was hard nosed and they were going to play you for 60 minutes. That was not there versus Utah. That was very much evident against Texas Tech. Very big deal. Very, very big deal. Now that that is out of the way, I want to talk about the good and the bad from this game. there's a lot more good than there is bad. And some of the bad is more based on repercussions for the remainder of the season, but we'll get to that. For now, let's talk about the good. And don't forget, I do have game balls at the end of the show. We'll talk about that though. Let's talk about the good. The good from the Sun Devils win against Texas Tech starts with Sam Levitt in the clutch because he stepped up and delivered when he needed to. The final drive of the game, ASU down 3, 22-19. There is under 2 minutes to go, or right around 2 minutes to go. That sounds right. I think it was just under 2 minutes. But Sam Levitt leads a 10-play drive, 10 plays, 75 yards in under 90 seconds, gets down the field, ASU scores the go-ahead touchdown. They then kick the PAT, 4-point game. There was a lot of success offensively, and there was a lot of inefficiencies offensively. The inefficiencies did not feel like they had anything to do with Sam Levitt, and the better parts of the offense came because of what Sam Levitt was able to do. And we know that he can sling it with his arm. We know that he can run on the field as a dual threat. That what we've been waiting to see though is Sam Levitt be able to deliver to more than just Jordan Tyson. And as you would imagine, Jordan Tyson had another big day for the Sun Devils. He had 10 receptions for 105 yards and a touchdown. He also had a carry for a single yard for whatever that's worth. We know that those two go together like peanut butter and jelly or whatever your preferred not synonym, I can't think of it, little comparison is. It's very obvious that those two are just completely in sync. They know where they're at on the field at all times. And that, by the way, was the most obvious on a 4th down and 2 play where Sam Levitt was able to find Jordan Tyson for a 33-yard pickup. And Tyson is rolling out to the far side of the field. And I'm watching it and I'm just like, take off, take off. You're a runner, you can get it. But there were also closing in defenders. If Sam had taken off, 1, I do think he would have gotten it. But 2, it would have been really close and he probably would have needed a review. But Sam's keeping his eyes down the field. He finds number 0, hits him. At first, you're like, oh my God, you had the first. And then you see, as the camera pans and you see Jordan Tyson, you're like, oh, well, yeah, of course. That was always where he was going to. That was just indicative of the way that Sam Levitt was orchestrating this game, as he was just playing smart. He was distributing the football, which we'll talk about here a little bit more in just a second. He wasn't elite, but he certainly performed in the clutch. Ends the day 28 of 47 passing, 319 yards, 1 touchdown pass. Did not turn the ball over. He was sacked 4 times. He did a little bit. Oh, excuse me. Very late at night. Did a little bit of running around, but I mean, for the most part, Texas Tech was able to keep him in a box with that elite pass rush, which we went into it and we knew that guys like David Bailey and Romello Height were going to put a lot of pressure on ASU in this game, but they were able to overcome, overachieve, move past that. Sam Levitt, one of the biggest reasons why ASU was able to do that. The ultimate good from this game is that your starting quarterback can win the big one for you. Number 2 with the good is that other players stepped up in the passing game. We have been waiting for this. We have been waiting all year for other players not named Jordan Tyson to get involved in the passing game. We've been asking for the tight ends to get involved. We've been asking for some of the exciting young receivers like Jalen Moss, who, albeit has been injured, or Jaron Hamilton, or Derek Eusebio, or anyone else to get involved. We've been open to getting a running back involved. We got a little bit of everything in this game. And I want to give a huge credit here to Sam Levitt for getting these guys involved, because it takes trust to want to put the ball anywhere that's not in the midst of your number one receiver. And again, him and Jordan Tyson just have a very special connection. I hope that when those guys end up getting into the pros, no matter where they're drafted or when they're drafted, if that's the same year or the same round, whatever, I hope they just find a way to play with each other, because it would be amazing to see them continue to dominate at the next level together. Hopefully, just not for a team that you despise. But neither here nor there. We've been waiting, though, for Levitt to start connecting with some of these other guys, and lo and behold, he does it. Shimon Mateer has a pretty solid day. 4 catches, 66 yards. His day could have been better, but again, Mateer is a pretty darn good receiver at the tight end spot. We know what he brings for you, and he was able to step up when he needed to. Jaron Hamilton, breakout performance. Hamilton was someone who caught my eye over the summer as kind of like this, keep him in the back of your mind. He's going to make some plays eventually. And they tried to get him involved a little earlier in the season, but it didn't go according to plan in the sense of getting involved every game. He did have a 40-yard reception, I believe, against Texas State, but otherwise he had been quiet. He finished the day with 3 receptions for a whopping 101 receiving yards. The only other player on this team to eclipse the century mark at the receiving yardage total that was not Jordan Tyson. Pretty cool. And they were connecting on big plays. 2 of his catches went for over 40 yards each. Jaron Hamilton is your big play guy. I am hoping that we don't necessarily need him to be averaging 40 yards per reception for the rest of the year, but I would like to see him get more consistently involved in the game plan. And I would also be totally good with him taking over as like the big play threat and having Jordan Tyson just worry about attacking the middle of the field, or have Jordan Tyson worry about getting into the end zone, being your red zone guy, right? Being the move the sticks guy. And then for your second and shorts, where you're going to take a shot down the field, that's where you're going to have Hamilton stretch it. I would totally be good with that. Cameron Harpole, the number 2 tight end, and someone that I very, very guilty will admit, overlooked going into the year. 4 catches, 21 yards. I know that doesn't pop off the box score as some elite day, but 4 receptions for the number 2 tight end is noteworthy. He's getting on the field, and Levitt clearly trusted him enough in this game to distribute the ball. That's noteworthy. And again, it does answer the cries from the fans and from many other people to get the tight end involved. Cameron Harpole, tight end, got involved, and I thought that he had a very important role with the team in this game. Hopefully that continues moving forward. I've liked what I've seen from Cameron Harpole this year. Raleek Brown had 4 catches for 15 yards. He's not been the most efficient guy catching the ball. He's averaging under 6 yards per reception on the year, and like heavy volume and whatnot, but it just kind of is what it is. You're not going to be able to win them all, I suppose, but he is still getting it done as a runner, and just knowing that you can chip and dump the ball off to him when you need to is worth its weight in gold. You also had, for what it's worth, Derek Eusebio had 2 catches for 6 yards. Not a huge day for him, but Eusebio continues to be someone that I want to see get the ball more and more and more. He is also a guy who flashed to me over the summer as just really taking in the coaching that Hines Ward is putting out there for him. He's a really good route runner, and he is really, really quick. So I love the idea of getting the ball out to him really fast and just letting him make some plays. He didn't get to do that too much in this game. In fact, of his 2 catches for 6 yards, one of those catches was 6 yards. But we've seen times throughout the year that he can break off the chunk plays, and I would like to keep that involved. So absolutely loved that Sam Levitt was distributing the football in this game. Demarius Man Robinson also caught a pass. So 7 players for Arizona State caught a pass in this game. All but 2 of them had at least 3 receptions. That's a win. And yes, Jordan Tyson was still big. 10 catches, 105 yards, and a score. Tyson's going to do his damage, but I love that in this game, especially in a game against such an elite level opponent, that Arizona State got those guys involved. That's a big, big win for the team. Third thing that stood out to me as a good in this game is the defense really, really stepped up. And they needed to step up after the way they were just trounced against Utah. They were bent backwards in that game. They just, whatever Utah wanted to do, they did it. And the biggest damage that Utah did was in the run game, and particularly with Devin Dampier, their quarterback. He took off, and it didn't feel like ASU had a game plan for him. Well, they had a much better game plan this time around for Will Hammond, the backup quarterback for Texas Tech, but a dual threat quarterback for Texas Tech who has looked good throughout the season. So they needed to have something in the wings there, because Will Hammond is exactly the kind of quarterback that just killed this Sun Devils defense and could have potentially done it again. It's another really good offensive line for Texas Tech, just the way that Utah has a really good line for Devin Dampier. They have a good run game as well. Cameron Dickey has played some great football, but ASU's defense, to their credit, came out with a game plan, established, looked much better, much more confident, and it showed. ASU held Texas Tech to 7 points through 3 quarters. It didn't end that way, as we all know. They ended up with 22 points, but they were doing everything they needed to do. They were setting the tone. They were not allowing Texas Tech to convert third downs. They were getting pressure on Will Hammond. They sacked him twice. One of my bold predictions last week, I said they'd sack him 4 times and that they would have a better day rushing the passer than other teams have had against Texas Tech. I feel like I was correct about that. I don't know the pressure rates that like Utah put up against Texas Tech, but I feel like ASU did a really good job getting after Will Hammond. Sacking him twice and knowing he's a mobile quarterback is a big deal for the team. They stepped up. They contained Hammond. They contained Cameron Dickey. They surrendered less than 300 yards total. Under 200 yards of offense, just over 100 yards. Or let's try again. Just over 2. Let's try one more time. Just under 200 passing yards. Just over. I said just under. Oh my goodness. It is late. Just under 200 passing yards. Just over 100 rushing yards. There we go. I nailed it. They were just doing what they needed to do. And the final play of the game, that Hail Mary, I did not realize that there was a Texas Tech receiver who legitimately had like the perfect placement to be able to catch that football. And from what I was able to gather, it was Javen Robinson who was able to get his hand up and break the pass up. And I mean, that would have been just the biggest heartbreaker in the world if you had lost that way, especially because I found out from some of my friends that were at the game that the students were already prepared to rush the field after that play ended. Like they were basically lined up at the gate to hop over. So if that receiver caught the ball, that would have been ugly. But Javen Robinson gets the breakup. They played a really good football game. You got to tip your cap to the defense. And you also have to officially, if you haven't already, give the crown to Keith Abney as the best player on the Sun Devils defense. That is not short of good players, but Keith Abney continues to play at a ridiculously high level. And if he had better numbers in the box score, we would be talking about him as a candidate for the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. We would also be talking about him as a candidate for the Jim Thorpe Award the national award for the top defensive back in the country. He has been that good. Exceptional what he's done this year. Last thing I want to mention for the good here is that the offense stepped up when the defense faltered. We'll talk more about that in a second, but you're going to need this team to play a full 60 minutes. Now, sometimes that means that one side of the football is going to have to step up for the other side of the football. I can go back to 2023 and the first year of Kenny Dillingham and the Southern Utah game where that Haboob rolled in and it was almost a 3-hour weather delay. It was horrible. And there was a turnover that Jaden Rashada had committed, true freshman, first game. And Jordan Clark, the corner that we had back then, came over to the offense and said, "Don't worry, we got you. We got you. Don't worry about it." And they were able to help seal the game away, get the ball back, game over. That's what ASU needs, is to have it to where if the defense can't get it done, the offense says, "Don't worry, we got it. We got you guys." And vice versa. When the offense comes up short, the defense says, "Don't worry, we're going to get them off the field." That's what you need. And that's what ASU got. They played a full 60 minutes in this game, and that's what gave them the victory. Now, it did come with highs and lows from both sides of the ball, and we also saw both sides of the ball clicking at the same time. But the most important thing was when the defense started to fall down, the offense picked it up. They went right down the field, and they got the go-ahead touchdown. Because before that, the defense had surrendered 15 unanswered, and it was not looking good. I can tell you I was watching that game, and I was like, there's no way. We can't lose now. We can't lose now. We've been playing too good of football. But again, offense, Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson, Raleek Brown, they went over. They said, "We got you. We got you guys. Don't worry about it. We're going to get this lead back." Lo and behold, they went, and they got the win back. They got the lead back, and they got the win. Now, not everything in this game was perfect. Let's talk about the bad that came out of this game. Not everything went the Sun Devils' way in this game. Now, the biggest thing, we'll get this out of the way now, is a lot of ASU's best players got dinged up. They got banged up in this win, and it may have long-term effects for the team. Now, the biggest injury update that we have is that Jordan Tyson is dealing with a hamstring injury. We thought that he may have had a lesser injury than it was, but it is a full-blown hamstring problem. If you're a big football fan, you know that hamstrings are the absolute worst, and they linger, and they can knock you out for weeks at a time. Now, we don't know if Tyson is going to miss any time just yet. For all we know, he's not going to miss any time, right? He could be fine. But he also may not be Jordan Tyson for the rest of the season. That is a very real possibility. It's not great. He had been taken off the field twice in the Texas Tech game. At first, you're just wondering, like, hey, are they just not stretching? What's the big deal? I know that Cleveland Browns coach all those years ago was like, they didn't stretch before they took Normandy and this, that, and the other, but just stretch, man. I'm not saying they didn't stretch, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, dude, just get on the field a little earlier. Just trying to keep the motivation a little higher, I suppose. But I guess we're gonna find out what that looks like moving forward. Raleek Brown was also banged up during the game, and it appeared he was dealing with cramps as well. I didn't see any confirmation on what it truly was with him. The thing with Raleek being injured, if this is going to be long term, and there's no signs of that so far, but it is worth talking about, is the Sun Devils running back room is not as deep as we had hoped it would be. Kyson Brown is out for the foreseeable future due to injury. Kanye Udo is not getting on the field. He hasn't looked elite when he's been out there, but I also heard that he has been sick, and it's obviously very difficult to do anything when you're under the weather, which may have contributed to why we hardly saw him against Texas Tech, but we still haven't seen much of him this year. I have no idea what happened to Jason Brown. And Demarius Robinson is getting a lot of playing time, which is not a bad thing at all. But there was a point in time where you thought, like, for sure Robinson was gonna redshirt because there was just so much depth in the backfield, and that is not the case. I think he's gonna end up outplaying his redshirt eligibility at this point. So ASU needs to not have Raleek Brown injured long term because they simply cannot afford it right now with the way that this running back room has quickly diminished from one of the deepest positions on the roster to one of the thinnest. Because if there is another serious injury on top of losing Kyson Brown for however long, this is going to present a massive issue for the Sun Devils when they start getting into the bigger games. If they make it to the Big 12 championship game, if they make it to the college football playoff, they're not going to do anything unless they can run the football. So that's something to keep an eye out on. Other injury, and I don't know any details about this one, but Prince Dorba was hurt in the game. Apparently, someone had mentioned he needed to get x-rays while he was out on the field. I have not seen any updates about that. I know we're going to get an injury report later today for ASU and everything. I don't know if we're going to get details on Prince Dorba, but Dorba has really been coming into his own over the last few weeks. He had a sack against Texas Tech. He had the strip sack. He just took the ball out by himself. Like, he had one of the most pivotal plays in this game. I don't know what it looks like long term if they're getting x-rays and CT scans, MRIs, whatever the heck it is. Hopefully you're getting nothing but good news, because that's not someone that you would like to miss long term. ASU's pass rush has really stepped up this year. Clayton Smith looks good. Elijah O'Neal looks good. They're getting all sorts of production from their linebackers, from blitz packages and stuff like that. But Dorba is one of your top edge rushers. You don't want to lose him. ASU has struggled to rush the passer over the last several years. They're doing a great job this year, and Dorba is one of the biggest reasons why you can't lose one of your top guys. Speaking of the defense, and we teased this a little earlier, so let's roll into it now. The defense did let up late. Now, did they get tired? I don't know. And I hope that's not the case, because this was a very physical football game, and ASU was not done playing very physical football games. They play Houston this weekend. Houston is a very good football team, much better than they were a year ago. Think of 2023 Sun Devils. They were competitive last year. 2024 Houston, they're shocking the world. They're 6-1 right now. And Connor Wegman is playing really, really, really good football for the Cougs. Keep an eye out on them. You still got to play Iowa State. You still have whatever comes after that. There's a lot of big games left up on the schedule for the Sun Devils. So you hope that this isn't going to be what we see moving forward, because we've seen the defense finish strong against teams like Baylor and TCU, but they got their you-know-what handed to them against Utah, and in crunch time, they almost gave up the game. They didn't. In fact, the final drive of the game, they broke up the Hail Mary that would have given Texas Tech the win. So give them their flowers. I'm not saying the sky is falling, but it is noteworthy, for me at least, that the defense got tired towards the end of the game, right after a week that they got absolutely worked. By the way, once again, Will Hammond did some damage as a runner. They were able to contain him for most of the game, but then in the fourth quarter, he just broke out and he was doing his own thing. What a surprise. So yeah, can't let that happen. We'll see, man. I think there's a lot of things the defense still needs to work on to be able to get to where we can rely on them to, like, win the games by themselves. But I like overall what we got out of the team. And certainly it was a step up from what we saw against Utah, but I do worry how ASU is going to handle mobile quarterbacks going forward. So Connor Wegman, Houston, Another good test. That's a good running quarterback. And then the rest of the schedule, you'll have whatever Colorado's going to do. I know Caden Salter's there. Is he going to be starting? No idea. Rocco Becht can move a little for Iowa State. Is he going to be healthy? Fafita can move a little for U of A. I don't know what's going on with West Virginia, but there are still some big challenges left and some mobile quarterbacks left that ASU will have to take on. If they do get to the Big 12 title game, they might face BYU and Bear Bachmeyer, who is an elite runner. Just got to find a way to get the stuff taken care of. Last thing for the bad that I want to mention is the red zone offensive play calling. There are some problems with that, man. That was way too predictable what ASU was trying to accomplish. And against a great defense nonetheless. I mean, Texas Tech from the line to the back end of the defense is just terrific. There's NFL talent all over the place. And they were just trying the most predictable, ineffective, low success rate kind of plays and like running up the middle and just trying to draw the defense, and nothing was really working. And ASU got some extra opportunities to be able to cash in their 2 touchdowns. The Jordan Tyson touchdown, that was a big moment, but it almost didn't happen. There needed to be a penalty to lead up into that drive. The Raleek Brown touchdown to seal the game. Raleek had to put all of the works that he's done in the weight room and doing the leg press to be able to push himself into the end zone, because I thought he got stood up and I couldn't believe it that they were just going to continue to do the same thing over and over again. I love Marcus Arroyo. I think he's a really good offensive coordinator, but we have seen these struggles in the red zone for quite a while now. I think it dates back to the Peach Bowl against Texas, where they got stuffed at the goal line twice in a game that went to double overtime. We just need to have something far more efficient for red zone play calling than what we're getting from Marcus Arroyo right now. And ASU found a way to win the game for sure. That needs to be credited, and Marcus Arroyo deserves credit for that. But they have got to find ways to be more effective in punching in those opportunities for touchdowns, because ASU won that game by 4 points. If they didn't get those touchdowns and they had to work very hard and get some extra opportunities to get those touchdowns, they're not winning this game. Just have to find a way to do that moving forward. All right. I think that is all the bad I have to talk about. Let's take a look at some takeaways. Major takeaways from this game for the Arizona State Sun Devils. Number 1, they can win the big games. They can deliver in crunch time. They just find a way. And that is something that you can't practice it. You can't teach it. It's not learned. It's just something, you have it or you don't. And the Sun Devils this year have proven time and time again that they have it. They found a way to outlast Baylor. They found a way to outlast TCU. They found a way to outlast Texas Tech. They nearly found a way to outlast Mississippi State, but we all know that they came up short in that game. They bite down late in games when they need to. We've seen it all year long. The lone exception of that Utah game where they just got trounced. But again, even against Mississippi State, they came back late. This team is capable of going to the wire with their opponents. That is worth a lot. And it's what's going to help Arizona State win the big games down the road. That's how ASU beat Texas Tech. They rise to the occasion. It's crunch time. We need a touchdown. 2-minute drill. Sam Levitt executes it. All right. Texas Tech needs a touchdown in order to win the game. They can't tie it. We need a stop on defense. Get the stop on defense. We need a turnover. Get the turnover. We need to chew clock. Take 6-7 minutes off the clock. Need a touchdown. Get a touchdown. Need a field goal. Get a field goal. They were doing everything that they needed to do to beat Texas Tech. We've seen them do it this year. Sure. This was the best example of that. Was to see that Arizona State was able to dig deep in a game they very easily could have lost, and in years previous would have lost. But they didn't. That's something to take a lot of pride in. Major takeaway number 2, Sam Levitt may not have the biggest numbers out there. He may not be throwing for 300 yards a game. He may not be scoring 3 touchdowns a game. He's not that Heisman Trophy player that we hoped he would be, that we envisioned he would be, but he gets it done. And he is a very, very good quarterback. Do not be mistaken. Sam Levitt is an elite quarterback. For what Arizona State has asked of Levitt, he has stepped up and delivered. All he does is win football games. That's all he does. Sam Levitt has lost 1 Big 12 game as a starter. That was his first ever Big 12 game against Texas Tech in 2024. After that, he beat everyone he faced then, and he has beaten all the Big 12 games, or beaten all the Big 12 opponents that he's played this year. He did not play Utah. He did not play Cincinnati last year. All he does is win games when the Devils need him to do it most. He also is doing a great job protecting the football. Remember the first 2 weeks of the year when you had, I have no idea what that noise was, or maybe I'm just hearing things. Remember the first 2 weeks of the year where Levitt had 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and he was really struggling in that Mississippi State game, and it felt like there could have been like even 3 or 4 interceptions. Yeah, since then, it's 6 touchdown passes to 0 interceptions. He is elite as a runner at this point in time. He's just doing what he needs to do. It's nothing fancy. It's not Heisman numbers. It's not going out there and winning games by himself kind of thing. The way that a Dante Moore or John Mateer or Fernando Mendoza can do, winning games by themselves. But Sam Levitt is a reason that you are winning games. He is one of the components that has led you to wins. So he does it with his legs. He does it with his arm. He steps up. He answers the call. May not have the best numbers in the world. He's probably not going to be first team all Big 12 or second team or third team or fourth, fifth, sixth team, whatever. It's probably not going to be mentioned in anything like that. But that's okay, because he's guiding the Sun Devils to wins this year. He was guiding the Sun Devils to wins last year. He has lost 3 games as the starting quarterback for the Sun Devils. Texas Tech, the Peach Bowl, and then Mississippi State. Otherwise, all he does is win football games. All he does is command the Sun Devils offense, do what he needs to do, make the big plays when he needs to make them. That's another thing. The box score is not going to show how important that 33-yard completion was. It's not going to show the big runs that he had to convert first downs, or the way that he's able to extend the plays to be able to convert those downs. Doesn't show those things. Sam Levitt, elite quarterback, just doesn't have the elite numbers. It is what it is. Third biggest takeaway, the passing attack can, in fact, use more than just Jordan Tyson. We've been waiting to see it all year. The potential's been there. There's good tight ends. There's intriguing receivers. Running backs can catch football. This was the game that it all came together, and it was like, yeah, see, we don't just need Tyson. You lean on Tyson. He was the biggest producer of this game. 105 receiving yards. It's not like he didn't have nothing, but you had 103 receiving yards from Jaron Hamilton. You had 66 yards from Shimama Taylor. You had a bunch of guys who were just adding a collective total to the passing game that was making it so that Texas Tech, sure, maybe they did focus on Tyson, but they paid for it. And that's what ASU needs from their passing attack for the remainder of the year. Is they need guys who are just able to make sure the ball keeps moving, to make sure that defenses respect everyone, and if they don't, to make them pay for it. And if they do, to have Tyson exploit them. ASU's passing attack, let's try again. ASU's passing attack can get it done. Last takeaway here from me is ASU can win out. Win the Big 12. Repeat as champs. Bold claim. I know. The schedule lightens up. You're hosting Houston this weekend. That is a huge game. Do not overlook that. They travel to Iowa State after that. That is going to be a very difficult game. November in Ames against a very pissed off Iowa State team that's injured at the moment. And quite frankly, ASU is just playing better football. That's still not an easy game. ASU has their final bye week. They host West Virginia. That should be a win. They visit Colorado. That's a sneaky game, but they should win it. And then they host U of A. They should win it. There is a chance ASU can run the table here and finish the season 10-2 with a, what's it end up being? 8-1 Big 12 conference record, which would send you to the Big 12 championship game, short of BYU or Cincinnati being undefeated, which they currently are. But I imagine those two play each other at some point. I don't have either of their schedules. If ASU finishes the year 10-2, 8-1 in conference play, there's got to be like a 90+% chance ASU is going to the Big 12 title game. And you would be riding a 6-game winning streak going into that. You'd have to feel pretty good about your chances to win it all. They got through an insanely difficult portion of the schedule with Baylor, TCU, Utah, Texas Tech, and they went 3-1. If they had gone 2-2, you're happy with it, but they lost the game to Mississippi State already. You looked at it, you were like, you can't go 2-2. Can't go 2-2. And they didn't. They did what they needed to do. They deserve all the props in the world for that. ASU is looking good right now. ASU is looking like world beaters. I don't see any reason they can't win the Big 12 title game when they're playing the type of competitive football that they are, but you can't revert to what you did against Utah. Let's round things out now. Hand out some game balls. Game balls. I got 3 game balls to hand out here. Player of the game and a play of the game, which I am pivoting my play of the game. Let's start with the game balls. Game ball number 1, Sam Levitt. How can it not go to the man of the hour? With things like this, I do my best to avoid giving awards to quarterbacks, talking about the biggest players to watch. And, well, yeah, of course, the quarterback's going to be one. Who are the most important guys? Well, yeah, the quarterback's going to be one. Who's the MVP of the game? More often than not, the quarterback's going to be one. I try to avoid that. It's just boring to just talk quarterback over and over. But you can't not overlook what Sam Levitt did in this game against an elite Texas Tech defense. A pass rush that was giving them hell every single snap. He got sacked 4 times. He still managed to lead a game-winning drive. He was getting pulverized consistently. He still managed to lead this team to a victory. He answered the call when he needed to, and he made massive plays when he needed to. Sam Levitt deserves a game ball, not just because he's a quarterback, but because he is one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason, that ASU was able to get this win, because he answered the call. One of the things I said going into the matchup itself on my last show, I had a bold prediction. I said Sam Levitt is going to have the best game of his career because he has to. Well, was it the best game of his career? Statistically, no. And I'm sure you can find other ones. But He stepped up because he had to, which is what I said. He's going to have the best game of his career because he has to. Well, he played great football because he had to. Answered the call. Game ball. Game ball number two. Game ball number two. Keith Abney. I sung his praises earlier, but he's just so good. He looks to be one of the next great ASU defensive backs that we quietly put into the NFL more than people seem to realize. Keith Abney has just turned into such a good football player from the time he took the field as a freshman to where he is now as a junior. I do not see him returning to Tempe next year. I think he's going pro. And I think there's a chance he goes first round. But this is just another excellent performance for him against Texas Tech. He still has yet to allow a touchdown on the year. He's breaking up passes, and he is erasing his side of the field. Another thing that I mentioned in my bold predictions last week was Keith Abney was going to play elite football again because he had to, and he raced one side of the field. I feel like mission accomplished. I would say that Keith Abney did exactly that. He held down Texas Tech and did what he needed to do for ASU to win that game. That was a good Texas Tech offense. I understand the passing attack is not as good with Will Hammond as it is Baron Morton, but that doesn't mean that Coy Eakin or Terrence Carter Jr. or any of their other very, very, very good receivers suddenly cannot play offense. They had the guys out there, but they were able to have Keith Abney and some of the other guys step up. Keith Abney is just, he is special. He doesn't have the numbers. He is playing like a defensive player of the year right now in the Big 12. Hopefully, because he won't win it, but hopefully he's able to get first team all conference for the things that he's doing this year. Game ball number 3, I really struggled with this one, but I went with Jesus Gomez. And Jesus Gomez has been exactly what Arizona State was hoping to get. They struggled so much last year just trying to kick the football. Oh, I see what that is. Now, there was a noise. Okay. I'm not crazy. So I figured out what I did. Anyways, Jesus Gomez has just been exactly what they needed. They struggled kicking the ball last year outside of a bad game against TCU where he went what do you go 2 of 4 on his field goal tries. He's done what ASU was needing him to do. He went 2 for 2 he went 2 for 2 inside of 30, 1 of 1 inside 40 or 30 to what 4-4. He went 4-4 on field goals and he made both the PATs. ASU needed every single point to win this game. Jesus Gomez, he's doing exactly what ASU has desperately needed him to do this year. They lost games last year because of field goals and PATs. They have not lost this year because of field goals and PATs. So shout out Jesus Gomez delivering 14 points for ASU in a very, very tight win for the team. We'll wrap it up here. Player of the game could have gone a lot of directions. Again, I try to avoid going quarterback all the time, but it is Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt is the player of the game. Stepped up when he needed to. Play of the game. I am pivoting to Sam Levitt's 4th down conversion to Jordan Tyson for 33 yards to keep the game alive. That's the right way to go. I will tell you, when I first made this, thing that popped into my head was Montana Warren just popping the Texas Tech receiver, jarring that ball free, and Martell Hughes being right there to pick it up for an interception. Because that play was so bang, it would have been an incomplete pass. That was not going to be a fumble. The receiver did not have enough time to secure the ball, take 2 steps, make a football move, make a sandwich, call his mom, all that stuff to establish a catch, whatever that might be. Did not have the time to do that by the time that Montana Warren cracked him in the ribs. But Martell Hughes was right there. He was right there on the ball. He's Typically, always somewhere near the football. He was able to get the interception. Excellent. Excellent play. So much fun. And it's been awesome to see the way that the youngsters on defense have started to take over because ASU has been so heavily dependent on their transfers over the first few years establishing Kenny Dillingham's program. Now the youngsters, his recruits, are popping up on defense. Montana Warren, Martell Hughes, CJ Fight, Keith Abney. You are seeing the results of the recruiting come onto the field now. It's exciting stuff. All right. I think that's a good place to wrap up here. We will be back again later in the week for ASU hosting Houston. We got to preview that one. It's an underrated opponent at home. This is not a game to sleep on. I think a lot of people are aware of how good Houston is at this point in time. If you are not, you should be at this game. You should be loud and proud. I don't know how they're not ranked. They should be ranked. If they beat ASU, they will be ranked and they will be in a very good spot to control their fate to go to the Big 12 championship game. ASU has to win this game. This is perhaps the most important home game remaining on the schedule, besides obviously the U of A game. But this is a huge game. 5:00 p.m. on Saturday. We'll be talking about it later this week. We'll break it down. We'll have bold prediction, score prediction, all that good stuff. Make sure, if you have not hit subscribe yet to the show, that you hit subscribe. You hit the like button, you leave a comment, share, follow, all that good stuff. You'll stay up to date with the podcast whenever we drop more content. Audio is on the way. There's been some stuff that has held that up a little bit, but I appreciate you guys checking out on YouTube. In the meantime, I'll see you guys later. Take care. This has been Devil's Advocate with Richie Bradshaw.